Today we're going to be discussing the steps in pastoral counseling.
We'll be learning about the steps to counseling a person, especially in a crisis. Here are the steps. You can read about them in more detail in the book.
These steps come from David Benner's book, Short-Term Pastoral Counseling. The first step is the encounter. This is where we first meet the patient. During the encounter phase, we set the environment, we connect and set boundaries with the patient, we hear the concerns of the client, we gather the relevant history, we diagnose the problem, and we agree on a central focus. And that's followed by engagement and disengagement. Stage 1 of encounter, set the proper environment. That means that we make the patient, the client, feel comfortable. That we do that by creating a comfortable atmosphere and establishing rapport with them. Second, we connect and set boundaries. We explain to the patient what we can and cannot do. We set down meeting and rules and when we will meet and how we will meet. Then we start listening. We hear the central concerns that he has. We listen to his problems. We find the relevant history. Now at this point we need to be warned that we're not trying to poke into their background or stick our nose into their business, but simply gain the history that we need to understand their problem. We then diagnose the problem and we agree on a central focus for counseling. How do we set the proper environment? We make the patient feel at ease by the seating arrangement in the room. Don't just sit behind a desk. Get around where they feel much more comfortable with you. By making eye contact and watching the body language that we use. Don't sit and fold your hands and lean back, but look at them, be open, be engaged, respond back to them. Create a relaxed mood. Take some time to get to know them a little bit before you jump into the problem. We set boundaries by making and expecting the client to keep appointments. We explain that to them right up. By taking charge of the relationship, we must initiate the conversation and we must initiate the entrance into the problem. By keeping financial help separate, I cannot overemphasize this. If everybody who comes into our office we give financial help to, they will begin to think of us as a source of money, not as a source of advice. If you're going to help them financially, do not discuss it during the counseling session. And then you hear their central concern. That is one single issue. It's very important that we focus upon a single issue that we can deal with. There may be many problems in their life, but we want to deal with only one issue. For example, listen to the story of this woman. A person walks into your office depressed. She has been fighting with her husband over money. She has been suffering from chronic fatigue. One of her children has been in trouble with the law. She finds she is having trouble doing housework or concentrating on her job. The more she neglects her work, the more depressed she gets. What one issue should best be the focus of the session? Now that's going to vary from client to client and from counselor to counselor. But we need to look at this list of issues she has and say, what is the one that I... Stage 2 is engagement. Engagement means to explore the dimensions of the problem, decide on the actions that you can take, and to check what our resources are to help. What do we do in the engagement stage? We help the client understand the scope and dimensions of their problem. We take that one issue and we explore it. We diagnose a solution or treatment for that problem. And then we connect them with the resources that are necessary to help them with that problem, whatever those resources. We explore the dimensions of the problem. There are 5 dimensions to it. First of all, there are our thoughts. What do they think about something? There are intentions, there are hopes, there are plans, and there are feelings. For example, a man is considering a move to another town. His wife is not in favor of that move. The man has taken a job without consulting his wife, and now the wife is considering leaving him. What are the thoughts, feelings, intentions, hopes, and plans for the man and for his wife, and how do they affect the others? And how would you counsel them in their communication with one another? Then after we've explored the dimensions of the problem, we, together with the client, decide on the action. We may want to just comfort them and send them on their way. We may need to counsel them about biblical principles. We may need to confront them on what they are doing wrong according to the Bible. Or we may need to inform them about things that they did not know about at this point. Or we may want to refer them to somebody else who can help. We check our resources. We see what the resources might be. We have spiritual resources. And those are things like prayer and Bible study, our relationship to God, church. We may just need to get them to come to church. There are medical and social resources, such as psychologists, friends, pastors, others. There are pre-developed resources, that is, resources that have already been prepared. We may want to give them a book or a video. We may want to send them to a support group that we're having. There are all kinds of pre-developed resources. And there are homework assignments. We may want them to read some scripture to follow up. And if we give homework, we need to set a definite time for following up to see that they have done it. Stage 3 is disengagements. Once we've helped them with their problem, then we need to be getting them on with their life. We don't want them coming to us. We have encounter, engagement, and disengagement, which includes prayer. We should always have prayer. Agree to meet again. Refer them if necessary. Follow up. Pray. Always take them to God. As a pastoral counselor, prayer is your greatest asset that you have. Remember also that you are not the true counselor. Christ is. So in your counseling, you should always point to Jesus. Then we set a time for an appointment. If you're continuing to talk with them and you haven't got through it all in one meeting, hold them accountable to come back. Set a time and place. If you are referring them to somebody else, have that referral ready. Have the name and address of that person and get it quick. Follow up anyway. Even if you're referring, a pastor does not abandon his sheep, but checks to make sure that the sheep does what is necessary. Make sure that your client, your parishioner or patient, make sure that they get the help they need and that you're giving them support as they
Take your time in counseling. Follow a purposeful approach. Don't assume that the right counseling approach will just appear to you. Have a goal in mind. With any trip, you need a destination.